we're getting better, I guess. If that's the elite of the league and we're knocking on the door, I feel pretty good about it. I mean, I think they had the best winning percentage going into that, and we were the eighth best, eighth or ninth. So it's a pretty interesting first round matchup if you look at it. So I think we took some strides, but obviously we got to you talk about that one goal. Might as well be 10 goals. Doesn't matter. You got to find it. You got to find it. So we know where there's areas to get better. I think you mentioned a point earlier. We're still a pretty young group, and I think as long as we learn from that, it's not a failure if you learn from it. And I think I'm pretty sure our guys have learned a good lesson from this playoffs.
For sure, that's great. So here we go. It's and we're just going to talk about these situations and maybe what the message would be following these instances to your players. So it's game one. You guys are up 3-1. There's 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go. And you got the best athletes in the world. I haven't played a shift in the NHL, so by no means is this making light of anybody. But I think there's some.
Watched all of this. Like, first of all, before we even went out there, we were like, the worst thing I think can happen is you put a little doubt in players, right? Like, come out and say, look, they're going to go for it, so be alert. Well, they know they're going to go for it. You really want to say is go get that next one so that they, we're playing on our toes versus on our heels. And what happened here is we just ran around. Like, we just basically we're on the power play. We shouldn't have to defend, and we got all messed up. And, yeah, they got a lucky bounce. But if you just watch it, there was a comedy errors there going on, the whole thing. Everyone's just chasing the puck around. And then it was basically a disaster. And it ended up in your net, right? Like, generally when goals go in, you got to look at about 3 or 4 things before that. And there was about 3 or 4 things that people are just doing the wrong thing. And you know what? It's not even – we talked about it the next day a little bit, but every guy on the ice here, you can all see them. There's Nino right now. He knows you screwed up. Like, everybody.
The kids call that WTF.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't really need to almost say that much. On the obvious things, it's like, okay, guys, move on. If it happens again, now we got a problem. But there's some one-offs. You just, we addressed it and we moved on from there.
Well, listen, you talked about Justin Williams earlier, and so in this next clip, so now but you talk about leadership. So I wonder, like, how important is it who you put on the ice? Because if you watch right here, Justin Williams
together, or whether they're even mixed match, six forwards, you have your 4D that you're going to go with here this last whatever many minutes to solve, finish it off, and the message is clear on that. At the end of a game, we're not necessarily trying to score. Certainly, if we get a chance, we're going to take it, but you got to do it right. And so you saw, like you mentioned there, just the strategy and the philosophies, with a minute to go or less, get that puck out of your zone. Everyone talks about that. Get it in if you can, but just keep everybody above you. And then, in the D zone, the one strategy I like to talk about when there's, a 6-on-5 situation against you is you got to be aggressive. Like, if you just sit back, you're giving these players, they're great players on the other team. They're going to find somebody open, or they're going to find a lane and get a shot off. Like, if we can, instill puck pressure everywhere and obviously cover off the net, that's, Captain Obvious there, but make sure when there's a chance to pressure, go. And that's what you kind of saw in that last shift there. They never really got a chance to get the puck set or get it to the top and go D to D and look for a one-timer. It was just, they were under stress the whole time. And that's generally, I think, the best teams do it really well that way.
That's great. And I've watched this a couple times. I don't know what Mrazek's upset about here, but he's fired up.
Well, he's mad. I can tell you what happened. It's a bad call. So they shot the puck in, and he grabbed it and then played it. He knew there was 2 seconds left, and the guy quick whistled it like you wouldn't believe. And meanwhile, whatever. I won't get into the refereeing, but it was a quick whistle. He knew what to do with 2 seconds, was catch it and keep it moving, and he did that. The game should have been over.
Well, hey, and just on that note, no worries. There's no $25,000 fines at the Virtual Hockey Summit. So
not from you, but trust me, I've dealt with it now. So
now we jump ahead. So it's game 3. So I can remember my Pee Wee coach telling me there's one thing we weren't going to do is we weren't going to give up any goals in the first 2 minutes of the period or the last 2 minutes of the period. So it's game 3. You guys are up 2.
You got to know your opponents, right? You got to know who you're out against. That's one of the fastest forwards in the game. And we just got to, start of the period, like you said, you got to be on your toes. And we were just a tad off on your gaps. And at the NHL level, that's the killer. You're going to give a guy time and space. You might as well just, line up at center ice because it's going in your net. So that's exactly what happened. Sometimes you tip your hat too. I mean, a pretty good player there that made a pretty nice play. So, we were there, but we weren't there. So it's just one of those, again, that's a veteran player that got beat there. Not much needs to be said. He comes to the bench. He knows. He goes, I messed up. Okay, we move on, right? It's not something that you have to dwell on when it's basically one guy that knows he screwed up, and that's the end of it.
Is the message on the bench there, guys? We flush it, forget it, and we get after it?
We didn't play well in this game. Our goalie, Reimer was in there, and he played a phenomenal game and kept us in the game. And then our talent kind of took over at the end, a couple real nice individual plays. But, there's really 0 point in worrying about something that just happened. We always talk about the next shift, good or bad. It's about your next shift, because you're not helping us thinking about something that you did great behind you or you didn't do great. It doesn't matter now. It's about winning that next shift. So that's really the focus.
Got it. So I can remember in this next clip here. So now you guys are up 3-1, minute 39 to go. Net's empty. I can remember Scotty Bowman. This is probably going back, I think, when teams started kind of get into the 1-3-1 in their neutral zone forecheck. And he made a comment one time. It was like he couldn't figure out why forwards were skating backwards in the neutral zone. And so I saw this one, and I thought of that. So you got your captain, Jordan Stahl, you're holding up the blue line, reaches and takes a penalty. And I look at that and I'm like, geez, bad time of the game. I don't know if it's necessarily a bad penalty, but how do you react to that on the bench, and what's the message to the players?
Yeah, I'd have to look at it again whether it was a real penalty. Like, to me, that when you're up 2, especially, they're looking to call penalty. So you got to know not to stick your stick. He barely gets in there, and he, goes down pretty easily. But he knows not to even bother trying that. So we talked. We might even say after, just you got to be careful, because I know Jordan doesn't take a lot of penalties. He's just not that kind of player. But so now the message is, again, I just mentioned to you, that's done now. I'm not going to worry about the fact that we got a penalty. So now what's the strategy? Well, we got a 6-on-4 coming up. And, we've obviously, again, talk about preparation. You can't expect the players to know what they're doing at that moment. You've had to have talked about it beforehand or worked on in practice. So we're basically just we don't have to say anything. In a perfect world, coaching is really done before you hit the games. There's not much to do. So every situation that comes up, our guys know what they're doing. So 6-on-4, how much different is it versus 6-on-5? That kind of strategy. And to be honest, we don't change it a heck of a lot, except obviously the pressure points and stuff with whether 6-on-5 or 6-on-4 or whatever. But so anyway, you got another clip here?
Well, yeah. So now you guys, you're on the kill. You're down 6-on-4. What jumped out to me here is you got 2 young guys, Martin, and I apologize if I mispronounce his name, but Martin Nikas and Sebastian Aho up front. And so 2 things jumped out is, the personnel you're using. You got a couple of young players in a pretty critical point. But also I noticed, and this kind of goes back to the Justin Williams clip, your net front forward is dropping down low in the corner and applying pressure. And I'm assuming that's by design. Got a great here.
I got to stop you here just so you know. I didn't use – this is Teravainen and Aho. So I wouldn't have Netcash out there on a penalty kill with 6-on-4. He hasn't figured that out yet. But Teravainen is one of the smartest players in the game. So to any young coaches out there, you got to get your smartest guys out there at the end of games. The guys and whether they're – penalty killers or not, like, smart players get it. They know where the puck's going to next, and when they get it on their stick, they know how to get it out. And that's really another whole issue here. But we use Teravainen and Aho as killers anyway, and so this was kind of just, again, it's a 6-on-4 situation. Nothing really changes on how we want to approach it, whether it be 5-on-4. And so that's just part of the strategy. You talked about having that forward in the middle. Well, how we kill, you got to protect the middle. Somebody has to be there. So he's there. We pressure anytime we can. If you coach, but that's how you win games with great players. He just anticipated that. Just reads that there's pressure. Where's that guy going with it? Up the wall. So he just jumps it. That's just playing hockey. And that's elite. Elite players make coaches look good.
No, great point, man. So you guys move past the Rangers. Now it's game one against Boston. Good hockey game. 10 minutes to go in the third. You're down by one. And so going into the third period in this type of situation, how do you balance that message of, you got to go out and make plays, and you got to play with your instincts versus let's just throw everything at the net and get a bounce?
Well, when you're down one, you're in the game. I mean, this is for sure. You don't want to change anything you're doing now, unless your game sucks and you're down one. Now there's a whole nother. You could be down one, but you might be lucky to be down one. You should have been down 10. So you do have to change something. But depending on how the game's going, this game we weren't that great in. So I think we actually made a couple of line adjustments and stuff like that to try to shake things up. But we're not going to change how we play. We got to get to how we play, if that makes sense. So we never really look at changing the way we play. We just got to get to it sometimes. And sometimes you have to shake that up by, moving lines around. Maybe you not sit a guy, but just, he gets the message when he goes from the first line to the fourth line, or, that we're not happy with you, and give him a couple shifts down there and then move him back, just, kind of wake him up. But you don't really ever change your style of play. At least we don't, because we can't really play any more aggressive. I don't know where our style could be any more aggressive. So, it's more about getting to it. And the other team has a lot to do with it. They're trying to obviously, not let you do these things. And Boston here is obviously one of the better teams. So that's why we had a little bit of trouble.
Well, I just want to touch on something you said. I think I guarantee like every minor hockey coach listen to this right now. When you talk about juggling lines, I guarantee they're all thinking, man, like I need to have about like 20 1-hour meetings with parents before I can juggle the lines and explain my rationale and all that. So, again, that's probably a whole nother topic, but just really quick, like, do you like when that sort of things happen, like, do you have a quick check-in with the players? Is it just, hey, it's in game. If you want it, we need to talk about it. We'll do it afterwards, but we're just making decisions and what's best for the team.
Well, at the NHL level, you don't have to explain anything. I mean, they get it. That's my point. I think the bench is the best way to kind of get your point across a lot of times. And really, you don't have to do it for a long time. Like, you could take a guy that you're not happy with in a game, and you can miss him one shift. You skip him one time out of his line. You rotate through and you just say, hey, whoever, player X, you're out for this one. Someone else take his spot. He'll give you a quick look back, or he'll be like, oh, he gets it. And then just put him back there the next one. Now he knows that something was up, or sit him out a power play shift one time and see how that goes. He's going to know. He's going to get the message. And then after, you can just talk to him the next day in practice or something. Just go, hey, you know why I sat you out there? Especially if you give him a shot right back. It's different. I don't like to sit guy and then never give him another crack. Like, I'll put him right back, get him. That's just a wake-up call. And as far as – it's interesting you mentioned, maybe we're off topic, but I coach my son, my 8-year-old. So, and I've coached my older son who now plays college hockey going through. So, talk about dealing with parents. You're 100% right. The NHL level is the easiest level of coach because you don't deal with parents. You deal with the general manager and an owner. Yeah. Depending on how that relationship is, easy or not easy. But the parents are tough. I'll be honest with you. And I think the message on that one, you need to have a message. Coaches out there dealing with parents, have it day one, how you work. This is how it's going to go. I'm coaching your son, not you, right? I'm the coach. If you want to be involved, then let's see if there's a room on the bench here for me, or you can come out and practice. I don't know how it works. But if you're not out here spending, the time and the energy that I'm putting into coaching your kid, don't criticize. You know what I mean? We're going to try to get everyone better. That's the goal. It's funny. My wife, I got an 8-year-old, okay? She wants to win every game. She's like, you got to win. She's so competitive. I'm like, this isn't about winning. I have to fight with her all the time. No, we're trying to get these kids better so that they learn how to play and blah, blah, blah. But you need to keep the parents to be engaged, make sure they're supportive. But you're coaching the team, and if they want to coach, then they should sign up and do it. That's kind of how I look at it. So anyway, off topic, I know.
Rod, that might be the golden nugget of today. I mean that. I think that's really going to make plays with the puck.
Well, it's simple. It's simple here, right? Like, if you watch that, if everybody watches the NHL, like, you score, here's how you score in the NHL. And it pretty much translates through every league. But you score on the rush, okay, where odd man rushes. you score on the power play. So you create some sort of way to create an odd man, 5-on-4 situation through your play. You get a power play goal, and then it's hard to score. So the other way is get the puck to the net with traffic, like just simple. But you got to work to get it there. You got to dig in. You got to, and you watch all these goals in the league right now. I mean, power play on the rush or some sort of point shot with people in front or whatever. Like that's just all there is. There's just not a lot going on. You can work on a lot of other things, and we do. But at the end of the day, it's just winning these battles and keeping it simple. And that's what all you did there on that last goal, that tying goal.
No, great shot by Fleury there to walk the line. And so now we're in double overtime. Boston's top line's out.
Yeah, you need to stop it. You need to stop it, this clip. So I think that's Pasternak in the middle, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as he moves it, watch our best player. So this is a learning clip. So you learn tough lessons. And again, Aho had a great playoffs. He's going to be a phenomenal player, but just watch him take a breath. So pass goes.
So he's right here.
Right here. Now we kind of mess up a little bit. Our outside D is way too far over. We got to protect the middle of the ice. So in a perfect world, we'd have him inside, but he went over there because he thought maybe the pass was going to go there, but he needs to get back. But Aho watched his strides. Go ahead. Yep, right there. See, took a breath. So he stopped skating. Stops coming back hard, right? If you back it up, if he had turned and the way we want to do it and the way we teach it is immediately, you lost it, but immediately you want to dig in and start coming back. He might have just got a stick on that pass across to Bergeron and doesn't have coming over. Our D's late, but Aho's it doesn't look like it's his guy, but it's how we do it. He's got to be coming back hard through the middle, and he might have been able to get a stick on that pass, and we might have still played and maybe win that game, and who knows what happens. So you're always fighting for inches. That's one of the things we always talk about. And if you can get that across, especially at a young age with kids, like you keep coming back, game of inches hockey it's crazy, but you never know when it's going to matter.
No, for sure. And so like when that happens and there's just a clip here, and this isn't me, this is just TV, catches you coming off the bench here in Toronto. Obviously not, nobody's thrilled in that scenario, but after the game, like when do you, because like you said, there's a great teaching point there. You got a young player that if he's not already is going to be a superstar. How do you create that and turn that into a teachable moment, but also ensure that there's a message that says, hey, it's like, this shit can't happen.
Right. Well, it's pretty easy when you have, first of all, he's a great kid and he wants to learn. And I think when you have your best players that you can point out the mistakes they make and they get it, then it really opens up that you can show anybody a mistake. Like if I can give Aho crap, he probably was our best player in that game. But he also had his, I call it blood on his hands on that last goal. I mean, there was a couple other guys too. I mean, I just pointed him out as the one, but we were late getting over. I mean, we have to show it so that we understand how it happened, and then we move on. Like it's done, and we hope that it doesn't happen again. But I do think it's important to go over the mistakes because you don't want them to creep in there again, right? And then it's just how you present it. If it's a lack of effort, it really wasn't. He just took a breath, but. That's just not acceptable. It's just then the end result is what it is, right? So I think it makes him better. He appreciates it. He wants to be pushed, and again, that's just the way I like to do it. If it's a mistake that needs to be shown, you got to show it.
Got it. So obviously it works. You guys have a great bounce back game in game 2. Good hockey game here, halfway through the third. And I think one thing, just from a technical standpoint, it was sort of the same on the last goal with Fleury, loose puck in the corner and you guys work it down low east-west. Is that sort of by design? And I mean, obviously you can see here, you make Boston shift and creates a lane. Do you guys have a philosophy on loose pucks and where you want them to go? Yeah,
I think every team, if you watch it, every team wants to change sides, because if you back this clip up, I don't know if you can, but if you see how Boston's doing it, they got 5 guys over on that side of the ice, right? They're making it small over there. They're trying to make it hard for you to move. And they do it a little. They're the one team that D-zone coverage is a little different than every team in the league. But so pause it here. So they switch. Their D doesn't chase behind or anything. You can tell they switch. So meaning they hold a D at the net front. As you switch sides, their D takes over on the other side. So we knew that going in, and we try to give this little separation by using the back of the net because you're going to have a little bit of time. And then obviously they kind of messed up here a little bit because they left the point wide open. And, again, that's just another point shot. That's one of our best players, best offensive defenseman in the league. You don't want to be leaving open. So, every great team messes up. They messed up on this one. You showed us how to clip the one before. Game of mistakes, right? And so, we were lucky on that one that they were the ones making the mistake.
So we go ahead. You guys got.
And he's just putting in reminders, and so we do the same. Dean Chanel's my defensive coach, so he runs the meetings, if you will, on the ice about what we're going to do here 6-on-5. But we've already, as a staff, talked about this. I told you beforehand. If coaches weren't around right now, our guys would know what they're doing. But we're just giving reminders. Okay, here's what you're going to see. Remember who's covering what, how we're going to, go if we lose this face-off, what's our keys if we win it. Just little reminders just to plant the seed back in the guys' heads. But we've already done all this beforehand. So, again, it's all about being prepared. So, you don't want to have to wait to this time to start talking about stuff like this. So coaches that are out there, take some time before or after practice. This is stuff that doesn't have to cause ice time. It's great if you can have different looks. You know what I mean? And so, but at a minor level, if you can have one play that you have that is a moneymaker, like run it to death, because until they show you that they can stop it, do it. But I will tell you that we've done this forever, and we still do it. We run offensive plays all the time. We have more success with just winning it back and throwing it to the net than we do when we run all our plays. So keeping it simple, keeping everyone understanding about getting to the net and pucks to the net gives you just as much success as trying to run all these plays that rely on lots of passes and, extra things. If you can just get it back and get it there and everyone crashes the net, that good old hockey, it really does work.
Well, we're going to get to that in a second. We'll let this one roll, and we're, a budding superstar, but this kid he's legit. One of your best players. I think at that point he had 7 points in 6 games in the playoffs. He's one of your offensive catalysts. When there's an injury like that, obviously you care about the player, you care about the person, but